So we talked about this yesterday on the show. Mike Bloomberg. We've been talking about Mike Bloomberg a bit this week. And a lot of his stop and frisk comments back in 2015 went viral recently. People have been resharing them. And we went through them. He literally says that stop and frisk is a good thing and that crimes are committed by Black people and minorities, so they should be stopped and frisked. That's basically what he said. And we went through that entire clip. And I said, I was like, in the comment section, there's going to be people that try to justify what he just said by cherry picking his words. And sure enough, that happened. You can go to some of our videos from earlier in the week, look at the comment section. Well, technically he's right, because what he's saying, all he's saying is that places with more crime should have more police officers. Oh, really? That's all he's saying? What about that part where he's saying that people should be stopped and frisked because they commit the most crime? They meaning Black people and people of color and minorities. He's basically saying that white people should have more rights than other people. That's basically what he's saying. What about that part? You didn't mention that part. Ah, la, 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 la. I didn't hear that part. I didn't hear that part. All he said was places with more crime should have more police. No, that's not what he said. That's not anywhere close to all he said. But he was confronted about it. And here's what he had to say. Here's what he had to say about it.
Mr. Mayor, why did you say what you said in that 2015 speech?
I don't think those words reflect how I led the most diverse city in the nation. And I apologize for the practice and the pain that it caused.
But why did you say it?
It was 5 years ago. And, it's just not.
It was 5 years ago. That was like one of his. It was 5 years ago. Now, that would carry some water if he was a kid. Or something like that. Like let's say he was 18 years old. And he's like, look, it was 5 years ago. Okay, 5 years ago, you were 13, right? If you're 18 years old, 5 years ago, you were 13 years old. And when you're 13 years old, you don't really have much life experience yet. You're still forming your views around the world. You might say something really ignorant and dumb because you don't know any better. And 5 years later, when you're 18, when you're entering young adulthood, you do know a little bit more. And you can say, yeah, that was 5 years ago. I was a kid. I really didn't know what I was talking about. But Mike Bloomberg 5 years ago was still very much an adult. I'm not sure exactly how old Mike Bloomberg is. But that was 5 years ago. That doesn't really mean anything. Anyway.
The way that I think, and that's not the way, it doesn't reflect what I do every day.
Yeah, back to the 2015 comments. So you apologized for using and promoting your policy of stop and frisk, but those comments on that audio, they're more than just talking about stop and, they're pretty derogatory comments about African Americans and the neighborhoods that they live in. So beyond the policy, do you apologize?
Yeah, because he said people in those neighborhoods, unless of course they're white, should be stopped. That they don't have the same rights as white people. They should be stopped. And they should be checked for weapons. What crime did they commit to do that? Nothing. They were just walking and their skin is dark. So they should be stopped. That's what Mike Bloomberg justified in 2015. That's what he promoted in 2015. If you're walking down the street and you're Black, you should be stopped.
Those remarks don't reflect the way that I've governed or the way that I run my company.
Yes, it does reflect the way that you governed because you oversaw stop and frisk. You oversaw it. So yes, it does reflect the way that you governed. And what did it do? It brutalized Black people and people of color. It was over-militarized and gross. That's why Mike Bloomberg had to start his campaign with an apology. Because of how repulsive stop and frisk was and how miserably not only it failed, but it was absolutely disgusting and racist and discriminatory on every level. So it does reflect how he governed. That's a bold-faced lie he just told. Oh, it didn't reflect the way I governed. Yeah, it did. You're the face of the policy, Mike. Is John Mellencamp going to write a song for you to get you out of that one?
Or the way that I live, and I've led the most diverse city in the country, and the public there elected me and re-elected me 2 other times. So I think
New York City was so underwhelmed by your announcement. New York City despises you. And when you announced you were running, it's like the city did a collective eye roll.
they're pretty happy.
Do you apologize for saying those words?
Sure, the first part of the question, are you concerned that your comments might affect your performance with African American
I
voters?
do not think so. I think people look at it and they say that those words don't reflect Michael Bloomberg's the way he governed in New York City, the way he runs his company, the way his philanthropy works.
And then he started talking about himself in the third person. Then he started talking. He's like, look, that's not a reflection of Michael Bloomberg. That's not, I mean, dude, honestly, this would just be, if Mike Bloomberg is the nominee, they don't even need to hold debates. Just have one of them hold up a mirror and talk to themselves. Have one debate just be Trump talking to himself, and then one debate just be Mike Bloomberg talking to himself. Because really, what's the difference? What is the difference? Unbelievable. Mike Bloomberg, that's not the way Mike Bloomberg governs. I'm telling you, that's not the way Mike Bloomberg. Then he points to the fact that New York City is diverse. That was like the only other leg he had to stand on. New York City, it's really diverse, despite my best efforts. New York City, still diverse. I tried. I really tried. I brutalized people of color and black people as much as I could. Did the stop and frisk thing, but yeah, you just can't beat the food in Manhattan. What can I say? People just stay here. I don't know. They like it here. Can't beat. It's one of the cultural hubs of the world. People just stay. I did my best. Got all the police out there. It's diverse. New York City's diverse. What an apology. Man, I'm convinced he's sincere. I mean, we should all vote for him. That was the most sincere apology. Yeah, that doesn't reflect me. I don't know. It was 5 years ago. It was just 5 years ago. What do you mean it was 5 years ago? What, you were a totally different person 5 years ago? Or you don't remember because it was 5 years ago? Well, guess what, buddy? It went viral. You can go revisit those comments if you don't remember. If something that somebody said goes viral on the internet, they're going to remember it pretty quick. I don't remember everything I said 5 years ago. Nobody does. But if something went viral somehow, if something I said on a radio show or something went viral, and for whatever reason I'm revisiting it, I'd remember real quick. I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that joke I used to do. Why is it going viral now? Mike Bloomberg, man, that's boy. But what a week. Here, let's watch the whole thing one more time in its entirety to listen to his non-apology.
Mr. Mayor, why did you say what you said in that 2015 speech?
First of all, that's a tell. The fact he's looking down at the floor, he's scratching his face, that's a tell. That's a tell that he's really uncomfortable. That's a tell that he doesn't have an answer. And that's a tell that he's about to bullshit you. Taking a pause.
I don't think those words reflect how I led the most diverse city in the nation.
Although I'm not going to apologize for it at all. He didn't apologize for his actual words, at least not in this clip. He didn't.
And I apologized for the practice and the pain that it caused.
But why did you say it?
It was 5 years ago, and
It was 5 years ago.
It's just not the way that I think, and it doesn't reflect what I do every day.
Yeah, back to the 2015 comments. So you have apologized for using and promoting your policy of stop and frisk, but those comments on that audio, they're more than just talking about stop and, I mean, they're pretty derogatory comments about African Americans in the neighborhoods that they live in. So beyond the policy, do you apologize for those remarks?
Those words don't reflect the way that I've governed or the way.
Yes, it does. It does. Okay. It does reflect the way that he governs.
The way that I run my company or the way that I live. I've led the most diverse city in the country.
New York's diverse.
New
York's diverse.
And re-elected me 2 other times, so I think they're pretty happy.
But do you apologize for saying those?
He won't answer. He didn't apologize.
Concerned that your comments might affect your performance with African Americans.
I do not think so.
Okay, yeah, and because they know that's not how Mike Bloomberg feels. That's not how Mike Bloomberg feels. Mike Bloomberg, what's going through your head, by the way, if you support a billionaire who instituted stop and frisk, feels no remorse for doing so, justifies the brutalization of black people and people of color for the color of their skin, because of the color of their skin? That's what stop and frisk was. A guy who talks about himself in third person. I mean, this guy. Oh, and by the way, a guy who loved George W. Bush. How is this guy not running against Trump in the Republican primary? You've got to be kidding me. He just switches parties when it's convenient for him. This guy. Oh, and this is who John Mellencamp likes, by the way. John Mellencamp. The working class, farm aide, singer, songwriter, rocker. This is his guy. This is his guy. This Bush endorsing, warmongering, stop and frisk loving billionaire. This is the guy who's going to fix climate change. Mike Bloomberg. New York City was not happy about his run. No one cared because they remember how horrible he was. And you know what? It's weird that for some reason being a terrible mayor qualifies you to run for president, especially if you really screwed over black people and people of color. One of the things Mike Bloomberg and Pete Buttigieg have in common. It's going to be a long primary season, folks. Buckle in. Buckle in. All right. So Mike Bloomberg, what a sincere apology. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make